For a long time, doctors believed the dying brain worked like a light dimming, a slow, steady fade from something to nothing. Then a few years ago, a team of researchers watched it happen in real time. And what they saw didn't look like a fade at all. In 2023, scientists at the University of Michigan attached EEG monitors to 4 patients who were dying in hospital, after their families made the decision to remove life support. What they expected was silence, a gradual flattening of brain activity as oxygen ran out. What they recorded instead, in 2 of the 4 patients, was a sudden surge of gamma wave activity, the fastest signal the brain produces, and the same kind of activity linked to memory, focus, and conscious awareness. It didn't happen slowly. It happened within seconds of the ventilator being removed, and this built on an earlier discovery, a decade before, when the same lab found the identical pattern in the brains of dying rats. The surge was concentrated in a region near the back of the brain, an area involved in visual processing and, in some studies, the sense of being outside your own body. Nobody knows exactly why it happens. One theory is that as the brain's usual inhibitory systems, the ones that normally filter and quiet activity, start failing from lack of oxygen, areas of the brain that are usually kept in check are suddenly, briefly, unleashed. So let's put you in it. Your heart stops. For the first several seconds, your brain is still running on the oxygen already in your blood, you're technically still there. Blood pressure drops towards 0. Around 10 seconds in, your cortex, the part of your brain doing your conscious thinking, starts losing power, and from the outside, you look gone. But gone might not be the right word for what's happening on the inside. In 1991, a woman named Pam Reynolds underwent a rare surgery to remove a life-threatening aneurysm at the base of her brain. To do it safely, surgeons cooled her body down, stopped her heart entirely, and drained the blood from her head. For a window of the operation, she had no heartbeat, no brain activity a monitor could detect, and no way to see or hear anything. Her eyes were taped shut and her ears were plugged with sound-emitting devices used to track her brainstem. By every available medical measure, she was as close to dead as a living person gets. When she was revived, she described specific details from the operation, the shape of the surgical saw, fragments of conversation between the surgical team, details that, according to the doctors who reviewed her case afterward, matched what actually happened in the room. Skeptics point to it as a case of the brain picking up faint sound even under anesthesia. Believers point to it as one of the most well-documented accounts on record. Nobody has fully settled it either way. But it's one of dozens of similar reports that pushed researchers to start studying this seriously instead of dismissing it. That's what the AWARE-2 study set out to do. Between 2017 and 2020, researchers across 25 hospitals studied over 500 patients who went into cardiac arrest. Only a small fraction survived. But among the survivors who could be interviewed, close to 40% described some sense of awareness during the time their hearts weren't beating. About 1 in 5 described something researchers now call a recalled experience of death, structured, lucid memories, not fragments or confusion. And roughly 3% reported being able to actually see and hear what was happening around them, while clinically showing no signs of consciousness at all. The details people describe vary, but certain elements repeat across completely unconnected patients, a sense of separating from the body, a feeling of calm rather than fear, and something researchers call a life review, not a highlight reel of achievements, but ordinary fragments, a conversation, a walk, a room they once stood in, replayed with total clarity. Meanwhile, the rest of the body is on its own timeline. Without circulating blood, your cells run out of oxygen within roughly a minute and switch to a backup form of energy production that doesn't need it, one that produces a buildup of acid as a side effect. Muscles lose tension entirely. And for the first several minutes, this process is still reversible. Brain cells can typically survive 4 to 6 minutes without oxygen before the damage becomes permanent, which is the exact window CPR and defibrillation are racing against every time someone collapses. So here's where the science actually leaves us: nobody can tell you with certainty what dying feels like, or whether what these patients describe is a real experience of leaving the body or a final, vivid production of a brain doing everything it can, all at once, on its way out. But the data increasingly agrees on this much. For most people, in the accounts we do have, it does not appear to be frightening. If anything, the reports skew toward the opposite: calm, clarity, and an unexpected amount of light. Maybe the most useful part of all this research isn't about the last minute at all. It's the reminder that the brain, right up to the end, seems to reach for connection and ordinary memory before anything else, which says something about what actually mattered, long before that minute ever arrived. If you found this as unsettling and comforting at the same time as I did, let me know in the comments what stood out to you most. And if you want more of this, subscribe, there's more coming.